Stop scrolling. Heaven just pressed pause on everything around you. This message isn't for everyone browsing tonight. But if you're here, if something pulled you to this exact moment, your timeline just collided with eternity. You didn't stumble here, you were summoned. Listen carefully. You've been waking up at 3:12 a.m. for weeks now, walking slower than usual, carrying a weight you can't name. Something in your chest won't let go. That restlessness, that's not anxiety. That's awakening. You thought you were stuck, but chosen one, you're not stuck. You're suspended, held mid-air, between who you were and who you're about to become. Like a breath held before the storm breaks, like silence before thunder, like darkness before dawn. You've been asking God, why me? Why the delays? Why the isolation? Why does everyone else seem to move forward while you feel forgotten? But what if I told you, you were never denied? You were hidden. You weren't forgotten. You were protected. What looked like rejection was divine redirection. You thought God went silent on you. But what if silence is His loudest answer? Right now, in this very moment, something eternal is intersecting with your earthly confusion. The veil between heaven and your heartbreak is paper thin, and God is about to speak, not through thunder, but through this whisper you almost missed. This isn't entertainment. This is divine activation. This isn't content. This is confirmation. You are not watching a video. You are stepping into a sacred appointment. Your spirit knows it. That's why you can't look away. That's stirring in your soul. That's recognition. Your spirit remembers being chosen before you ever learn to doubt it. And to every single soul who has supported this message through super thanks, your generosity means more than you know. You're not just giving. You're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, if something in you knows this was meant for you, then stay. Yai, because what happens next will shatter every lie you've believed about your worth, every whisper that said you missed your moment, every doubt that convinced you God changed His mind. You are not broken, you are breaking through. And divine intervention isn't coming. It's here. You were crying over the delay. Hell was trembling over your direction. Listen to me carefully. While you've been questioning God's timing, the enemy has been studying your destiny. You thought those battles came because you were broken. They came because you were marked. From the womb, before your first breath. Before you ever learned to speak His name. You're not forgotten. You're not delayed. You're not common. Let me tell you what hell saw that you couldn't see. Every door that slammed in your face, every opportunity that slipped through your fingers, every relationship that ended without explanation. The enemy wasn't celebrating your defeat. He was panicking over your protection. Because, chosen one, you carry something rare, something ancient, something that makes demons scatter when you walk into a room. That's why the warfare started before you even knew how to fight back. You thought you were aging, but you're not aging. You're aligning. Every wrinkle tells the story of wisdom earned. Every gray hair is a crown of glory. Every year you thought was wasted was actually preparation for this exact moment. The battles you fought weren't because you were weak. They came because you were marked. And marking comes with a price. But here's what the enemy didn't calculate. Here's what hell underestimated. Your tears weren't just tears. They were seeds, watering ground that was being prepared for something unprecedented, something generational, something that would shake the very foundations of darkness. Now let me show you the signs you missed. The divine clues hidden in plain sight. That door that wouldn't open, the one you pushed against for months, God wasn't saying no. He was saying not yet, because what was behind that door would have destroyed you before you were ready to carry its weight. Those calls that never came, those interviews that ended in silence, God didn't reject you. He redirected the spotlight so you wouldn't burn before you're seasoned. The people that faded without explanation, the friends who suddenly grew distant, the family members who stopped understanding you, they weren't abandoning you. They were making room. Because what God is about to pour into your life requires space, sacred space, protected space. That's why you never felt comfortable here. That restlessness in your spirit, that feeling like you're living someone else's life. You were never meant to be planted in shallow soil. You were designed for deep roots, kingdom roots, generational impact. You know what I'm talking about. That ache in your chest when you see others settling for mediocrity. That fire in your bones when you witness injustice. That inability to stay silent when truth needs to be spoken. That's not your personality. That's your assignment leaking through. And God has been watching, waiting, preparing, not just you, but the entire stage for your emergence. While you were wondering if he forgot your address, he was orchestrating a symphony, moving pieces you couldn't see, shifting hearts you've never met, opening doors in cities you've never visited, all in preparation for your breakthrough. But here's the part that will shatter every lie you've believed about yourself. You're not behind schedule. You're perfectly on time, God's time, which operates outside the limitations of earthly calendars. Romans 8:28 declares, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." All things, not just the pretty things, not just the comfortable things, all things. That betrayal that broke your heart, it was removing someone who would have sabotaged your destiny. That financial struggle that brought you to your knees, it was teaching you to trust God as your source, not man. That season of isolation that nearly drove you crazy, it was separating you from voices that would have diluted your calling. You see, God doesn't just give breakthrough, he orchestrates it. Like a master conductor leading a symphony, every instrument must come in at precisely the right moment. Too early, and it's chaos. Too late, and the moment is lost. But when it's time, when it's really time, everything aligns with supernatural precision. And chosen one, it's time. That stirring you feel right now, that's not hope, that's recognition. Your spirit recognizing what your mind is just beginning to understand. The breakthrough isn't coming. The breakthrough is already in motion. Can you feel it? That shift in the atmosphere, that electricity in the air. Heaven is moving. And this time you're ready. Not because you're perfect, but because you're prepared. Seasoned by suffering, refined by rejection, strengthened by silence. The enemy thought those years of waiting would weaken you. Instead, they weaponized you. You're not the same person who entered that wilderness. You're not even close. You're stronger, wiser, more discerning, more dangerous to darkness than you've ever been. And now, God is about to reveal why he kept you hidden for so long. Why he protected you from premature exposure. Why he allowed the silence to shape you into someone who doesn't need applause to know who they are. Because what's coming next requires that level of inner certainty, that unshakable confidence that comes only from having walked through fire and emerged, not just alive, but transformed. Something is breaking open, and you can feel it in your bones. Right now, as you listen to these words, there's movement in the unseen realm. Angels are stepping into formation, not the gentle, harp-playing kind you see in paintings. These are warrior angels, combat-ready, assignment-driven, and they've been given your name. Isaiah 54:17 declares it with thunderous authority. No weapon forged against you will prevail, and you will refute every tongue that accuses you. This isn't poetry, chosen one. This is a legal decree from heaven's courtroom, and the verdict just came in. Not guilty, not forgotten, not abandoned, chosen. While you were crying yourself to sleep last Tuesday night, they were clearing the path. While you were doubting if God even remembered your address, they were delivering the verdict to every demon that dared whisper you were disqualified. Psalm 91:11 isn't just scripture, it's your reality. For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. All your ways. Not just the pretty ones, not just the Sunday morning ones, the 3 a.m. breakdown ways, the I can't take another day ways, the God, where are you ways. Can you feel it? That shift in the atmosphere around you? That's not your imagination, that's spiritual activity. Chains are cracking in rooms you've never entered. Doors are being oiled with your name carved on them. Conversations are happening in boardrooms where your breakthrough is the topic. And you thought nothing was moving. But here's what will stop you in your tracks. You didn't miss it. You were preserved. Listen carefully. God didn't forget about you. He hid you. Like a mother bird covers her young until they're strong enough to fly. Until the noise died down and heaven could speak to you clearly. Until the counterfeit opportunities stopped knocking so the real door could swing wide. You weren't too late. You were too important to arrive early. That season when everyone else was getting promoted and you were getting passed over, when everyone else was finding love and you were finding loneliness, when everyone else seemed to have the golden touch and you couldn't even get a call back, you thought you were being punished, but you were being positioned. You're not a seed that failed to grow. You're an oak God buried deep for the exact storm that's coming. And when that storm hits, when others are bending and breaking, you'll be the one standing tall. Roots so deep that hell itself couldn't uproot you. That's why you never felt comfortable in those shallow places. That's why small talk makes your soul itch. That's why you couldn't settle for surface-level relationships or half-hearted commitments. You weren't being difficult. Your spirit was protecting something sacred. You were never meant to fit in. You were born to stand out. Not for attention, for assignment. And now the hiding season is ending. The preservation period is complete. The angels who've been guarding are about to start advancing. What's been delayed isn't denied. It's about to be delivered, with compound interest. But here's the part that will make you weep with relief. Every tear you cried in secret, God bottled them. Psalm 56:8 says he keeps track of every sleepless night, every broken dream, every whispered prayer you thought he didn't hear. None of it was wasted. None of it was ignored. It was all investment. Investment in this moment. This breakthrough. This divine intervention that's unfolding right now. The enemy thought your silence meant surrender. He celebrated every time you questioned your calling. Every time you wondered if you heard God wrong. Every time you almost threw in the towel. But what he didn't know, what hell couldn't see, was that your surrender wasn't defeat. It was preparation for the most devastating comeback in spiritual history. You're not just getting back what was stolen. You're getting back what was stolen, plus damages, plus interest, plus the compound blessing of every year you waited in faith. That restlessness you've been feeling, that's not anxiety, that's anticipation. Your spirit knows something your mind hasn't caught up to yet. The wait is over. The silence is breaking. The intervention isn't coming. It's here. And in this very moment, as these words wash over your weary soul, something is shifting, not just around you, in you. That place in your heart that felt numb, it's thawing. That hope you thought died, it's breathing again. That fire you thought was extinguished, it's flickering back to life. Because divine intervention doesn't just change circumstances, it changes you. from the inside out, from broken to breakthrough, from barely surviving to absolutely thriving. The angels aren't just on assignment, they're on the move, and their destination is your destiny. The attacks weren't random, they were recognition. Listen to me carefully. If you weren't carrying fire, you wouldn't have drawn so much warfare. Hell doesn't waste ammunition on empty vessels. The enemy doesn't launch full-scale attacks on people who pose no threat. The intensity of your battles has been the loudest confirmation of your anointing. You've been asking God, why me? Why the childhood rejection when all you wanted was to belong? Why the financial delays when others seemed to prosper effortlessly? Why did friends walk away the moment you started growing spiritually? Why the decades of identity confusion? Feeling like a stranger in your own life? But what if I told you every single attack was hell's way of saying, that one is dangerous. You weren't attacked because you were wrong. You were attacked because you were right all along. Think about it. David wasn't hunted by Saul when he was just a shepherd boy. The persecution began the moment Samuel's oil touched his head, the moment heaven declared him king. Hell declared him a target. Joseph wasn't thrown into the pit by his brothers because he was ordinary. He was betrayed because his dreams carried prophetic weight that threatened their comfort. Your childhood rejection? It wasn't because you were unlovable. It was because your spirit was too pure for contaminated environments. Your innocence exposed the dysfunction around you, and dysfunction always attacks what threatens its survival. Those financial delays that made no logical sense? You've watched people with half your integrity prosper, while you struggled to make ends meet. But what if God was protecting you from wealth that would have corrupted your calling? What if every closed door was heaven saying, not yet? You're not ready for what I'm preparing to give you? And those friends, the ones who walked away when you started taking God seriously, when you stopped laughing at their jokes, when you couldn't participate in conversations that grieved your spirit anymore. They didn't leave because you changed. They left because your transformation exposed their stagnation. Romans 8:17 declares, if we are children, then we are heirs, if indeed we share in his sufferings. The suffering wasn't punishment, it was validation. It was heaven's way of saying, this one belongs to me. But here's what breaks my heart. You've spent years thinking you were behind, believing you missed your moment, convinced that everyone else got their breakthrough while you got left behind. Chosen one, you're not behind. You're rising on time. You're not old. You're ancient, wrapped in wisdom that can only come from walking through fire, tempered in trials that would have broken weaker vessels. You carry depths that Instagram influencers in their 20s could never fathom. The gray in your hair, that's not aging, that's authority. Every line on your face tells a story of resilience. Every scar on your heart is a scroll of divine instruction. You've been seasoned in suffering, prepared for a platform that requires substance, not just charisma. The world worships youth, but heaven treasures the aged. Moses was 80 when God called him to deliver a nation. Abraham was 100 when the promise finally manifested. Anna was 84 when she prophesied over the Messiah. Your best days aren't behind you. They're breaking forth. You see, there's something the enemy didn't calculate. He thought if he hit you hard enough, long enough, you'd give up. He thought if he delayed your breakthrough, you'd lose faith. He thought if he isolated you, you'd forget your identity. But every attack only refined your fire. Every delay only deepened your roots. Every season of isolation only strengthened your intimacy with God. And now, you're dangerous. Because you're not hungry for applause anymore. You're not desperate for validation. You're not moved by trends or swayed by crowds. You've been stripped down to pure gold, and pure gold is incorruptible. The reason you're still here, breathing, standing, believing, is because God isn't done showing what He can do through someone the world wrote off, through someone who's been counted out, but never counted down. You think you're too late, but you're right on time. Every prophet in Scripture had their greatest impact in their latter years. Every patriarch received their defining moment when the world thought they were finished. That restlessness you feel, that's not midlife crisis. That's Holy Spirit stirring. That divine dissatisfaction with where you are, that's not depression. That's destiny calling you forward. The warfare validated your worth. The delays verified your calling. The isolation prepared your platform. And now heaven is about to reveal why you had to walk through hell to carry fire. You're not a victim of time. You're a veteran of trials. You're not running out of opportunities. You're running into your ordained moment. The best wine is always saved for last. And if your spirit is bearing witness right now, if tears are flowing because something deep inside recognizes this truth, then you know this wasn't coincidence. You know this message found you because it's time. Time to stop apologizing for your fire. Time to stop hiding your light. Time to step into the fullness of who heaven always said you were. The warfare is over. The validation has come. Your breakthrough isn't coming. It's here. Chosen one, listen to me with every fiber of your being. Breakthrough is here. It's not coming tomorrow. It's not waiting for next month. It's knocking at the door of this very moment. But here's what hell doesn't want you to know. Breakthrough waits for your obedience. You've been praying for open doors, but God is saying, I've already opened them. Now walk through. You've been asking for signs. This message is your sign. You've been begging for clarity. Heaven is shouting it through every word you're hearing right now. The enemy can't steal your calling, so he tries to stall it with your comfort. He whispers, wait until you're ready. Wait until you feel worthy. Wait until the path is clearer. But God is saying, move now, while your heart is tender, while your spirit is stirred, while the fire is burning. There are people whose freedom is tied to your yes. You think this is just about you, number. There are souls in darkness right now, waiting for the light you carry to break through. There are chains that will only break when you step into your authority. There are generational curses that end the moment you say yes to what God is calling you to do. Do you feel that weight on your chest? That's not anxiety. That's the weight of assignment. That's the pressure of destiny pressing against procrastination. Every day you hesitate is another day someone stays bound who could be free. And let me tell you something that will shake you to your core. There are doors that will not open until your feet touch their threshold. Not someone else's feet, your feet. God has written your name on gates that have been sealed for generations. But they're waiting for you to stop making excuses, waiting for you to stop hiding behind your fear. You were never meant to be comfortable here. That restlessness you feel, that's holy dissatisfaction. That's your spirit refusing to settle for less than what heaven promised you. You don't belong in the shallow end. You were born for the deep waters where miracles happen. God didn't forget you. He kept you for exactly the moment the world needed your voice. While others were being promoted prematurely, God was preparing you in the secret place. While others were getting immediate answers, He was developing your faith in the waiting room. Because what's coming through you requires more than talent. It requires character, and character is forged in fire. But here's the truth that's going to pierce your soul. God is waiting on your move, not your perfection, your move. He's not asking you to have all the answers. He's asking you to trust His voice above your fear. He's not demanding you be flawless. He's requiring you to be faithful. One step, one yes, One moment of radical obedience can shift everything. I can feel some of you pulling back right now. I can sense the familiar voices of doubt creeping in. But what if I fail? What if I'm not ready? What if I heard wrong? Let me stop you right there. The same God who called Moses from the burning bush called him with a stutter. The same God who chose David chose a shepherd boy with no armor. The same God who used Mary used a teenage girl with no credentials. Your qualification don't qualify you. Your surrender does. This is not another video you stumbled across. This is a divine interruption. This is not just another night of scrolling. This is your Red Sea moment. This is not just another whisper in your spirit. This is the voice of the Almighty saying, enough. It's time. The shift is here. But it requires something from you. It requires you to stop being a spectator of your own destiny. It requires you to move from the bleachers to the battlefield, because champions aren't made in comfort zones. They're made in collision with their calling. Right now, in this very moment, heaven is holding its breath. Angels are leaning in. The cloud of witnesses is cheering you on, and hell is trembling, because they know if you say yes tonight, if you finally surrender to what God has been whispering, everything changes. Not just for you, for everyone connected to your obedience. So I'm asking you, right here, right now, don't let this moment pass. Don't scroll away and pretend you didn't hear. Don't go back to sleep on the very dream God woke you up to birth. Type 777 in the comments. Not as a superstition, but as a declaration. Let heaven know, I hear, I believe, I receive. Let that number be your spiritual signature on the contract heaven has been waiting for you to sign. 777, the number of divine completion, the number that says, God, I'm ready to complete what you started in me. This is the final call before the shift. The last invitation before the door moves from open to closed. Not because God is cruel, but because timing is real. And this timing will not repeat itself. The question isn't whether you're ready. The question is whether you're willing. Are you willing to step into the unknown? Are you willing to trade comfort for calling? Are you willing to let God interrupt your plans so He can fulfill His purpose? Your breakthrough is not behind you, it's in front of you. But it's on the other side of your yes. And heaven is waiting for your move and courting your move. You are not average. You are not forgotten. You are not disqualified. Let me say it again, because your soul needs to hear this. You are not average. You are not forgotten. You are not disqualified. The tears streaming down your face right now, they're not tears of defeat. They're tears of recognition. Your spirit is remembering what your mind forgot. You were never sent here to fit in. You were sent to set things on fire. Listen to me carefully. That feeling you've carried your entire life. That sense of being different, misunderstood, like you never quite belonged anywhere. That wasn't a flaw. That was your fingerprint from heaven. You thought you were broken because you couldn't find your place in their boxes. But chosen one, you weren't made to fit their molds. You were forged in God's furnace, shaped by His hands, marked with His signature. Every rejection you faced, every door that slammed shut, every time they looked past you like you were invisible, that wasn't punishment. That was preservation. God was shielding you from contamination, protecting your oil from being poured into cracked vessels. Isaiah 60:1 thunders this truth. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. This isn't someday language, this is now language. Your light has come, not will come, has come. And Romans 8:19 declares with holy fire, for the creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed. Creation itself, the earth, The atmosphere, the very ground you walk on, has been groaning, waiting for you to step into who you really are. That restlessness in your bones, that's creation calling your name. That dissatisfaction with ordinary, that's divinity demanding expression. You are not having a breakdown, you are having a break through something is shifting right now. Can you feel it? The atmosphere around you is changing. What felt heavy for so long is becoming light. What felt impossible is becoming inevitable. What felt delayed is becoming now. You're about to step into rooms that once rejected you, but this time, you're not walking in bitter. You're blazing in glory, not wounded, but crowned. Not desperate for their approval, but carrying heaven's endorsement. The very pit they threw you into. Joseph, thrown by his own brothers, that pit will become the place of your promotion. The wilderness that tried to kill you will become your wilderness of authority. The valley that broke you will become the valley where you break generational chains. You didn't just survive, chosen one. You were sculpted. Every blow that was meant to destroy you only refined you. Every tear that fell in darkness was watering seeds of glory. Every night you cried yourself to sleep, heaven was whispering over you. Not yet broken, still becoming. That fire in your belly that wouldn't die, that was God's signature burning. That voice that kept saying there's more, that was prophecy speaking. That refusal to settle, that was royalty rejecting anything beneath your bloodline. And now, you understand why nothing else ever felt like home, why every substitute felt empty, why every compromise left you restless. You weren't meant for their small stages. You were designed for God's grand theater. The enemy spent years trying to convince you that you missed your moment, that you were too late, too damaged, too ordinary. But he was lying. He wasn't attacking your past. He was terrified of your future. He saw what was coming before you did. This is your coronation hour. Not because you performed perfectly, but because you persevered faithfully. Heaven doesn't crown the flawless. Heaven crowns the faithful. And you have been faithful through the fire. You're about to discover that every closed door was God redirecting you to the right door. Every delay was divine timing. Every detour was detailed preparation. Nothing was wasted. Your voice, the one they tried to silence, is about to echo in rooms they never imagined you'd enter. Your gifts, the ones they overlooked, are about to manifest in ways that leave no doubt about divine favor. Your story, the one that felt like failure, is about to become someone else's hope. And here's what the enemy fears most. When you rise, you don't rise alone. You carry others with you. Your breakthrough becomes their permission slip. Your courage becomes their catalyst. Your yes becomes their open door. Generations have been waiting for your obedience. Bloodlines have been groaning for your breakthrough. Territories have been locked, waiting for your key. The earth itself has been holding its breath for this moment, for your rising. You are not stepping into this for applause. You are stepping into this for assignment. Not for fame, but for legacy. Not to be seen, but to see others set free. This isn't about you getting something. This is about you becoming something. So wipe those tears, lift that head, straighten that spine. You are not the victim of your story. You are the victor. You are not the afterthought. You are the answer. You are not forgotten. You are chosen. The fire that tried to burn you only forged you. The storm that tried to drown you only cleansed you. The pressure that tried to crush you only created diamonds. And now, you shine, not with borrowed light, but with heaven's glory. This is your hour. This is your moment. This is your time to rise, crowned in fire, marked by glory, sent by the Most High. Heaven is applauding, hell is trembling, and you are finally stepping into who you were born to be. You thought the silence meant disqualification, but chosen one. God was using obscurity as a sanctuary. Those years you felt invisible, those weren't lost years. Those were holy camouflage. While the world counted you out, heaven was counting on you. While others saw vacancy, God saw sacred space being prepared. You weren't denied. You were disguised. You weren't benched. You were being built. Listen to me carefully. While others were being promoted, you were being preserved. While others were seen, you were being sealed. While others were celebrated, you were being consecrated. That isolation that nearly broke you, that wasn't punishment. That was protection. God was painting your crown in the shadows, so the crowd wouldn't touch it prematurely, so the wrong hands wouldn't contaminate what was always meant to be holy. You see, chosen one, there's a difference between being overlooked by man and being overseen by heaven. And you've been under divine surveillance this entire time. Remember David, anointed as a teenager, but didn't see the throne for 15 years. 15 years of hiding in caves, 15 years of running from Saul, 15 years of people asking, "Where's this so-called king?" But God wasn't late. The kingdom wasn't ready for David's heart, and David's heart wasn't ready for the kingdom's weight. That's you, that's your story. You didn't miss the moment. The moment was maturing to match your capacity. You know why you never felt comfortable in those rooms? Why you couldn't fake the small talk? Why your spirit felt claustrophobic around surface-level people? Because you were never meant to fit in. You were born to stand out, not for attention, but for assignment. God didn't forget you. He kept you pure, kept you hungry, kept you sensitive to His voice when everyone else's ears grew dull from the noise. Those years you thought were wasted, you were learning languages the crowd never heard. The language of waiting without wavering, the language of trusting without seeing, the language of standing when everything said, "Sit down." And now, heaven is saying, it's time. Not because you finally got it right, but because the world finally needs what you've been carrying. That burden in your chest, that restlessness, that's not depression. That's deployment knocking at your door. You weren't hidden because you were unworthy. You were hidden because you were irreplaceable. And irreplaceable things don't get rushed to market. They get refined in secret until they're ready to change everything. I know you've questioned it. Late at night, crying into your pillow, asking God, did I waste my life? Let me tell you something that will shatter that lie forever. Those weren't wasted years. Those were consecration years. Every tear was holy water. Every delay was divine timing. Every closed door was heaven saying, not yet, but soon. You've been in a spiritual incubator. And incubators aren't punishment chambers. They're protection chambers, where life grows in safety until it's strong enough to survive the exposure. And now, the veil is lifting. The camouflage is coming off. The sanctuary season is ending. And what's about to emerge will shock the very people who wrote you off. They're going to ask, where did this come from? How did they get so wise? When did they become so powerful? And you'll smile because you'll know the secret. It didn't come from a classroom. It came from a closet. It didn't come from a platform. It came from a pit. It didn't come from applause. It came from aloneness with the Almighty. Those years weren't wasted. They were weaving. weaving strength into your spine, weaving wisdom into your words, weaving fire into your spirit that can't be extinguished by critics, because it was lit by the Holy One himself. The camouflage is coming off, chosen one, and what the world is about to see will prove that God's timing is always perfect. But here's what you need to understand as you step out of hiding. The same God who concealed you is about to reveal you. And when he does, everything changes. Not just for you, for everyone connected to your obedience. Because what's coming next isn't just your breakthrough, it's your becoming. Heaven knew your name before the world resisted it. Listen to me carefully, chosen one. You don't need another platform. You don't need another prophecy. You need to remember the prophecy, the one spoken over you before your first breath, before your first heartbreak, before the world taught you to question your worth. You are not who trauma tried to name you. Let that sink into the deepest part of your soul. Every label they gave you in your lowest moment, every whisper that said you were damaged goods, every voice that convinced you that your past disqualified your future, those were lies, bold-faced lies from the pit of hell. You are not the product of your delay. You are the fulfillment of God's design. Jeremiah 1-5 declares it plainly. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Set apart. Not broken apart, not torn apart. Set apart, consecrated, holy, chosen. The reason you've always felt like you don't belong, that's not a curse. That's confirmation. You weren't meant to fit into their boxes. You weren't designed to match their patterns. You weren't created to echo their voices. That restlessness you've carried since childhood, that feeling of being an outsider looking in, that wasn't rejection, that was recognition. Your spirit recognizing that you were never meant for their ordinary world. That's why people misunderstood your silence, because your silence wasn't emptiness. It was spiritual reverence. While they were making noise, you were making room. Room for God's voice. Room for heaven's whisper. Room for the kind of revelation that only comes to those who know how to be still. You weren't too sensitive. You were tuned differently, like a radio frequency set to heaven's station while everyone else was listening to static. You picked up on things others missed. You felt the weight of rooms. You sensed the brokenness behind their smiles. You carried their pain without them even asking. And the world called that weakness. But heaven calls it warfare, spiritual warfare, because you were born an intercessor, a burden bearer, a light bringer in dark places. You weren't too much. You were carrying too much to shrink. Listen, there's a difference between being too much and carrying too much for small spaces. You've been trying to squeeze the Pacific Ocean into a coffee cup, trying to dim the sun so others could see the stars. But God never asked you to make yourself smaller. He asked you to find bigger rooms. The weight you've been carrying, that's not your baggage. That's your calling. Every tear you've cried for people who never cried for you. Every prayer you've whispered for situations that weren't even yours. Every burden you've carried that had someone else's name on it. That wasn't codependency. That was Christ-likeness. Isaiah 53:4 says he carried our sorrows. And if you've been chosen to reflect his heart, then yes, you'll carry things others can't understand. You'll feel things others can't process. You'll see things others choose to ignore. But here's where everything shifts. You're not late. You're launched. Every delay was a divine setup. Every closed door was heaven saying not yet because the timing wasn't ripe. Every season of silence was God preparing both you and the world for your emergence. Because when God launches someone, he doesn't just open a door, he removes the entire wall. You're not failing, you're forming, like clay in the potter's hands, like gold in the refiner's fire, like a diamond under pressure. The very things that felt like they were breaking you were actually making you, shaping you, preparing you for the weight of glory you're about to carry. And now you're beginning to see it. The pattern, the purpose, the divine orchestration behind what looked like chaos. You weren't wandering in the wilderness. You were being trained there, trained to hear God's voice above the noise, trained to trust His heart when you couldn't trace His hand, trained to stand when everything in you wanted to fall. Romans 8:28 isn't just a verse, it's a promise with your name on it. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Called according to His purpose, not according to their opinion, not according to your past, according to His purpose. The identity crisis is over. The wondering is finished. The questioning ends here. Tonight, in this moment, under heaven's spotlight, you remember who you are. You are not a mistake. You are a masterpiece. You are not an accident. You are an assignment. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. And what's being formed in you, through you, because of you, is about to shake the very foundations of everything that tried to silence you. The world is about to meet the real you. Not the version trauma created, not the one fear molded, not the one rejection shaped. The real you, the one heaven designed, the one eternity has been waiting for. And when that version steps forward, when that identity emerges, when that chosen one rises, nothing will ever be the same again. The rooms that once rejected you will now require your voice to breathe. Listen to me carefully, chosen one. What's about to happen isn't just opportunity. It's divine orchestration. For months, maybe years, you've been knocking on doors that seemed permanently sealed. You've stood outside boardrooms, relationships, and destinies that felt just beyond your reach. But here's what hell didn't want you to know. Those doors weren't closed to punish you. They were sealed to preserve you. Isaiah 22:22 declares it with thunderous authority. I will place on his shoulder the key to the house of David. What he opens, no one can shut, and what he shuts, no one can open. This isn't poetry. This is prophecy. And tonight, that key is being placed in your trembling hands. They said you were too quiet, but heaven says your silence built thrones. While others were performing for applause, you were being prepared for authority. While they were networking their way into rooms, God was designing rooms specifically for your anointing. You thought your withdrawn seasons were punishment, but God was actually withdrawing you from contamination, from premature exposure, from rooms that would have celebrated your gift, but corrupted your calling. That's why you never felt comfortable there. That's why small talk felt like suffocation. That's why their applause felt empty. Your spirit knew. You were built for something they couldn't even perceive. But now the atmosphere has shifted. The spiritual barometric pressure around your life is changing. Can you feel it? That restlessness isn't anxiety, it's anticipation. Heaven is about to vindicate every closed door with an open gate. The enemy doesn't mind you walking through the door as long as you leave your fire outside. He'll let you enter their spaces. If you agree to play by their rules, he'll grant you access. If you promise to stay quiet about what you carry. But chosen one, you weren't built for the room. The room was built to receive what you carry. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. When God opens a door for you, it's not because you finally became acceptable to their standards. It's because their standards are about to be reset by your presence. You're not entering to conform. You're entering to transform. You weren't trained to perform. You were trained to transform. Think about Daniel. He didn't enter Babylon's court to become Babylonian. He entered to demonstrate that Hebrew wisdom surpassed their greatest scholars. Think about Esther. She didn't enter the king's palace to blend in with the other queens. She entered to save a nation. And you? You're not walking into that promotion to be another employee. You're walking in to shift the culture. You're not entering that relationship to find completion. You're entering to bring covenant. You're not stepping onto that platform to entertain. You're stepping up to awaken. But here's where most people forfeit their breakthrough. They get so excited about the open door. They forget why it opened. They get so grateful for access. They abandon their assignment. They trade their oil for acceptance. Don't you dare. Don't you dare shrink to fit through a door God expanded to accommodate your full stature. When you walk through that door, walk through it crowned, not with arrogance, but with awareness. You are not there by accident. You are not there by human favor. You are there because heaven's intelligence determined that room needed you. At this exact moment, with this exact anointing, for this exact purpose. Romans 8:28 isn't just comfort food for broken hearts. It's a war declaration. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Every rejection positioned you. Every delay prepared you. Every disappointment purified you. God didn't forget you. He kept you for exactly the moment the world needed your voice. And now that moment has arrived. The door isn't just opening. It's being flung wide, not by human hands, but by angelic force. Revelation 3:8 echoes through the corridors of your destiny. See, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. No one, not your past, not your critics, not your fears, not even your own doubt. So, when you walk through, and you will walk through, remember this. You're not entering their kingdom. You're establishing His kingdom. You're not joining their agenda. You're introducing heaven's agenda. You're not there to be changed by the environment. You're there to change the environment. The stage you've been waiting for is now sacred ground, and every step you take across that threshold echoes in eternity. Because when God opens a door, chosen one, no one, and I mean no one, can shut it. But there's something you need to understand about what happens the moment you step through. There are people who will never walk free unless your shadow touches their timeline. Let that truth settle in your bones. You didn't just survive heartbreak. You built a map through it. You didn't just endure betrayal. You became fluent in the language of restoration. Every scar on your soul is a word in a vocabulary that someone else desperately needs to hear. This is why your pain felt so surgical, so precise, so targeted, because it wasn't random suffering. It was prophetic preparation. God was downloading into your spirit the exact frequency that would one day unlock another person's prison. You've wondered why your story felt so heavy, why your battles seemed so intense, why you couldn't just coast through life like others. Here's why, chosen one. You weren't created for shallow waters. You were forged in the deep, so you could dive into someone else's darkness and bring them back to the surface. Every breakdown was a birth canal. Every attack was a foreshadow of impact. The enemy didn't fight you because of your past. He fought you because of what's going to be born from your yes. Right now, tonight, there's someone sitting in their car, in a parking lot, crying. Someone who's lost their job, their marriage, their hope. And they're asking God the same questions you once asked. Why me? Where are you? Did you forget my name? And God is whispering back, I'm sending help. I'm sending someone who's walked this road, someone who knows the way out, someone whose voice carries the sound of my deliverance. That someone is you. You see, when God allows you to walk through hell, He's not punishing you. He's preparing you to be someone's Moses, someone's rescue mission, someone's divine intervention, wrapped in human skin. Isaiah 61:1 declares, "The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives, and release from darkness for the prisoners." You thought your suffering was about you, but it was always about them, the ones still trapped where you used to be, the ones who need to hear your voice, cutting through their confusion like a sword of light. This is why you never felt comfortable here. This is why you never fit in. You weren't meant to blend into the background. You were born to stand out, to be a lighthouse in someone else's storm. And here's what the enemy fears most: that you'll stop hiding, that you'll stop apologizing for your fire, that you'll finally understand. Your voice isn't just healing for you, it's deliverance for multitudes. Every time you speak your truth, chains break. Every time you share your story, prison doors swing open. Every time you choose to be vulnerable, someone else finds courage to breathe again. You've been thinking your journey was about survival, but chosen one, it was about service. You weren't just being saved, you were being prepared to save others. Think about it. Who reached out their hand when you were drowning? Who spoke life when death was knocking? Who saw potential when all you could see was pain? That's who you're becoming for someone else. The depression you conquered becomes their roadmap out of darkness. The anxiety you overcame becomes their blueprint for peace. The addiction you broke becomes their proof that freedom is possible. God didn't forget you. He kept you for exactly the moment the world needed your voice. He preserved you through the fire so you could lead others through theirs. This is your commissioning. This is your divine assignment. You are not just a survivor. You are a deliverer. You don't just carry testimony. You carry transformation. Romans 8:28 promises. And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Every tear you cried, every night you couldn't sleep, every moment you wanted to quit, it was all working together to create the very weapon someone else needs to break free. Your voice is not ordinary. It carries the frequency of resurrection. It vibrates with the power of someone who's walked through death and come back to tell about it. So stop hiding. Stop diminishing your story. Stop apologizing for your intensity. The world doesn't need another echo. It needs your voice. Raw, real, anointed, and unashamed. There's someone right now scrolling through their phone at 2 a.m. looking for a reason to keep going. And your obedience to speak might be the only thing standing between them and giving up forever. Your voice is the sound of deliverance for others. Not someday, tonight, right here, right now, the moment you decide to stop hiding your light. Under the bushel of fear is the moment someone else's breakthrough begins. The enemy fought you so hard because he knew your voice would become his worst nightmare. A sound that breaks chains, a frequency that destroys strongholds, a weapon that sets captives free. You are not just healed, you are a healer. You are not just delivered, you are a deliverer. And your voice is the sound that hell cannot silence and heaven will not stop amplifying. Heaven crowned you while earth was still mocking you. Listen carefully. Chosen one, while you were sitting in that empty apartment, wondering if anyone even remembered your name, heaven was placing something sacred on your head. Not a crown of gold, not a crown of applause, but a crown forged in the fires of your silent obedience. You didn't get famous, you got formed. You didn't go viral, you went vertical, straight up into the throne room, where your real identity was being carved, not by human hands, but by divine intention. They saw the ashes, they never saw the altar. They witnessed your breakdown, but they missed your breakthrough. They counted you out, while heaven was counting on you. And all this time, all this pain, all these years of feeling invisible, you've been wearing a crown in the spirit realm, long before anyone on earth ever applauded. You know why you never felt comfortable in those rooms? Why success felt hollow when it came? Why popularity left you emptier than poverty? Because earthly crowns don't fit heads that were measured for heavenly glory. The crown you carry, it doesn't come with red carpets. It comes with wilderness seasons. It doesn't come with fame. It comes with fire. And every scar on your soul, every tear you cried in the dark, every time you chose obedience when comfort was calling, that was the coronation ceremony. But now, you must understand something deeper, something that will shatter every lie you've believed about your worth. Your scars are not shame, they are scrolls written in fire. Every wound tells a story of survival. Every limp carries the weight of legacy. Every broken place is where the light gets in and where the oil flows out. You carry revival in your limp. Jacob wrestled with the angel and walked away changed forever, not because he won, but because he refused to let go. Genesis 32-28 says, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome." That limp wasn't a limitation. It was a testimony. It was proof that he had been in the presence of the Almighty. And you've been wrestling too, not with flesh and blood, but with purpose, not with people, but with your calling. Every sleepless night, every unanswered prayer, every moment you felt abandoned, you were wrestling with destiny. And you didn't walk away defeated. You walked away marked. Let the wound speak, let the silence roar. Let the oil from your suffering flow freely now, because what they meant for evil, God has already transformed into anointing. That's why you never feel comfortable here, in shallow conversations, in surface-level relationships, in environments that celebrate noise over substance. You were never meant to fit in. You were born to stand out, not for attention, but for assignment. Your spirit recognizes the weight of the crown you carry, even when your mind doesn't understand it, even when your heart feels too tired to believe it. Deep in your core, you know you're different. You know you're marked. You know there's something sacred about your story. And God didn't forget you. He kept you. He preserved you. He protected you for exactly the moment the world needed your voice, for exactly the hour when your scars would become someone else's roadmap to freedom. 2 Corinthians 1-4 declares, "He comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God." Your pain wasn't pointless. Your suffering wasn't senseless. It was preparation. It was anointing oil being pressed from your life, so that when you speak, healing flows. When you walk into that room, people don't just see your smile. They feel your strength. They don't just hear your words. They encounter your oil, because you've been through the fire, and you came out carrying flame. That depression that tried to destroy you, it taught you how to war in the spirit. That betrayal that broke your heart, it revealed the difference between human love and divine love. That financial struggle that humbled you,